Yeah.
Did you get a second?
Yeah.
Okay. Can we talk out here?
Brian is 16 and has been living in a youth shelter for a month. His youth worker, Ben, is concerned that Brian isn't attending classes regularly. If he doesn't go to school or find a job, he can't stay at the shelter. Brian's problems at school are not just related to a learning disability that makes it difficult for him to read. He's also sometimes bullied and was once caught in possession of a knife on school property. Brian left home because of the constant arguing with his father and mother. Things are better when his father is away, which is often because of his work. There are 4 sessions in this case vignette. First, you'll see Brian and his youth worker at the shelter, then an interview between Brian and his counselor, Allison, at her office where she works as part of a community-based organization that provides outreach, shelter, employment, and counseling services. In the 3rd session, Brian's mother joins Brian and Allison to discuss what would need to change if Brian is to return home. The final session brings together Brian, Allison, and Ben to discuss how Brian can succeed at the shelter and at school while Brian and his family work on the problems at home.
Sit down here, I guess. How's everything going?
Pretty good.
Yeah. So you've been here like a month now. What do you think so far?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
School's going okay?
Yeah.
All right. Because school, you know, tends to be a big focus of things here. It's not the only thing, but it's part of it. Do you have any idea why I would be kind of pulling you out of your room to sit down and like play the heavy?
Not really.
Okay. You're in grade 10, right? This is your first year in high school. You're getting to a point with attendance where you might start losing your courses.
Yeah.
They may kick you out of courses. And ultimately, like, you know, your school is in your hands, right?
Yeah.
Like, and if it's what you want to do, we got your back. We'll support you in that. Maybe I have to be really specific about what is probably going to happen, right? Probably going to happen if you don't go to school and you don't follow things along, right?
Yeah.
Very quickly, you know, within a month or a couple of weeks, you could be homeless and not here anymore. We need you to decide what you want to do, and then we'll figure out if we can make that happen.
Okay, well, I think I'd like to keep going to school.
Okay.
Stay here.
Yeah. So one of the biggest barriers to that, from your school's point of view, right, is attendance.
Okay.
So I guess we got to look at what's making it hard for you to go to class. Is there something in particular about English that is difficult for you?
For English?
It seems to be that's what you seem to miss a lot of English, but
Probably just the class itself.
yeah. Okay. So in terms of like what else we could do and how else we can help you out, like, have you been seeing Allison lately?
But what, just go see Allison for counseling?
I'm just going to let you know what Ben told me, but then I really kind of want to get from what your experience of it was like. So from Ben's point of view, you've been missing some school.
Yeah.
And the house is getting kind of worried about how much school you're missing. You look kind of surprised by that. Brian, tell me from your point of view, like what's
Not whole days, just odd periods.
what's happening with those odd periods? Like what's going on that you're not going to those classes?
Generally, a lot of people have free periods.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
in like 11 and 12 usually, but I don't.
Right.
Not a lot of my friends in grade 10 do, but
Yeah.
usually we just end up hanging out with them.
Okay.
And I don't know, usually it feels weird to say peer pressure like that, but
Is that yeah?
I guess you could.
Okay. Peer pressure and feeling like it's more enticing to go hang out
Yeah.
with your friends. When you compare how it feels to hang out with your friends compared to how it feels to be overwhelmed by what's expected of you in English class,
Yeah.
how do those stack up?
Well,
Sounds like an obvious question, but I'm really interested in what you're...
I'm kind of thinking about it, but I'd probably say hang out with friends.
Yeah, okay. What's your sense right now about what the house understands the reasons are for you missing school? Like, what does the house think right now?
Probably just that I'm not trying.
Okay, and what do you think about that? Is that really kind of what's happening? Is it that you're not trying?
No, I don't. Well, I think if you asked a lot of people that, they wouldn't think that. I mean, a lot of ways different people try to do that. I mean,
This stuff's kind of snowballing for you. You know, so you're missing art class and you're missing English class, and you're telling me some reasons why, and it's not just because whatever, you're just being lazy, you know. And there might be, we don't know yet because we'll talk to Ben about this, there might be an impression at the house that it's because you're not trying hard enough.
okay.
And then you also said to me that there's lots of ways that you do try hard.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that's also interesting stuff. And do you think that might also be something that would be good to have a discussion with Ben about, the ways that you do try hard?
With Ben, well, I guess so, if that would really help at the house.
The other thing that Ben did let me know was you got suspended for a day last week because you brought a knife to school. Can you tell me about that?
I guess when you state it like that, it does sound really harsh, but I mean, yeah, I don't know how to really explain it to a lot of people, because most people just come up to me and, well, they all see it, like, were you going to go stab somebody?
Okay.
And just, I've been asked to, like, someone picking on you, are you going to get back at them, that kind of thing.
Can you tell me a little bit more, Brian, by what you meant by bringing the knife and like, just give me the details, because I don't really have a sense of, like, what is this knife and how come you had it and what was that about?
It's just a little pocket knife, but I mean,
Okay. What's that knife mean to you? Is it something that you value?
no, a lot of people have them, well, I include myself in that, just, you feel better, like safety,
Okay.
I guess.
Yeah. I'm wondering if is it linked at all to those times that you told me about when we first met, about what was going on with your dad and when you saw your dad's violence? Were those times did you keep yourself safe somehow in those times?
I guess there were some situations like that. I mean, not recently. I mean, he's never around anymore.
Yeah.
Used to a lot more when I was younger, but at school, I too run into people like my dad a lot. I don't know. Kids in the hall and stuff, I mean, well, if you're looking for an actual circumstance, like a concrete example like that, I mean,
Has there been any lately?
I don't know. Someone called me an idiot, it would just bring back days of my dad.
Right. If someone called you an idiot, or did someone call you an idiot?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
That's like the first one I can think of right off the bat where it kind of triggers memories like that.
Yeah. Makes sense to me, right? Like,
Yeah.
if that's something that reminds you of all that stuff that you went through with your dad. Often, I've heard other youth say to me they really hate when they get called stupid, especially if it reminds them of stuff, or especially in school where they're struggling a little bit, and stupid is like a real button for them that gets pushed.
Well, that's kind of ties into more, not with my dad, but with my mom. Because when we argued and stuff, it would kind of turn into that.
Oh, did it? Is that right, Brian? So she would use that term, idiot or stupid?
Just like being put down and stuff, I mean.
Okay. All right.
It's okay.
All right. You know what? I'm glad that you brought your mom up, because it's something else that I kind of want to talk to you a little bit about today. Are you okay if we talk a little bit about your mom? So you've been away now from home for, is it about 10 weeks?
2 months. Yeah.
About 2 months, yeah. So it's like you stayed with some friends, you went to the shelter, and then you've been at the house for like about a month.
I've been at the house for, a month.
And have you seen your mom much in that time?
No.
No, okay. You had a couple of phone calls?
I talk to her on the phone every so often now. I mean, occasionally.
Do you? Like, how often? What's occasionally mean to you?
Every week or so.
You talk to her about once a week?
When we don't talk as much, we don't nearly argue as much ever. We're really close, but just... We are close, but we always argue a lot. And I mean, what really bugs both of us, like, we get angry at each other, but afterwards, we just both don't even know why we were arguing. It really builds up, and after a while, we just don't even talk.
Right.
for like weeks. It's been months before. But just we're both, the way I look at it, we both kind of have a wall up and we're waiting for the other one to attack.
Right. It's worse when your dad's home? Do I understand that?
We're all on edge. We argue with each other even after he leaves, after like a few days, a week even. But for months after, we'll still be angry at each other.
Right.
And he's long gone.
Okay. So can you tell me, kind of, paint me a visual here? Like, what do you mean by on edge? I mean, I know what I mean by it, but what's that like in your family when you're all on edge? What's going on?
I don't know. My dad's changed a lot. I mean, every time I see him. But I don't know why every time he's home, everyone's trying to please him.
Yeah.
It's kind of bugs me why we even bother to do that. Don't know what he's done for it.
Is it important that he's kept happy? Is that...
Yeah.
Am I getting that feeling?
Yeah, it is.
Because what happens when he's not? What happens if somebody displeases him?
In general, he seems to be an angry person around us, at least. I mean, when he's home, I mean, I've kind of felt like you have to protect yourself. I mean, not usually from, like, physical abuse.
Right.
I mean, now he just picks on my mom sometimes, picks on me sometimes, but it's not really what bugs me more.
You said something there that really caught my attention, which was, you know, you really learned to protect yourself, especially when your dad's around. Will you tell me more about that?
I guess growing up, he does get angry. And he can be violent. Usually it was just my parents arguing. Not usually violent. And he shoves her sometimes.
Okay. And you were around to see that happen?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that still happening even when he comes back now, or was that something that has stopped happening? Or
Sometimes, not really too much.
okay. When's the last time that happened? Will you tell me about that?
Kind of what happened last year. He kind of turned on me halfway through it, and we were arguing, and I mean, it wasn't anything big, but he shoved me, and I shoved him back.
Okay.
And that was kind of just the end of it.
Yeah. What do you think, Brian, of if this is really important to you and you do want to eventually think about going back home, do you think we should meet with your mom? Would your mom be willing to meet with me, do you think?
Yeah, I guess so.
It's really important for me to know ahead of time from you, Brian, about what things I can share with your mom. So if it's out of anything that we've talked about since when I first met you and today, is there anything specific that you wouldn't want me to let your mom know? Brian and I decided that it would be helpful to invite you into a meeting to come and talk to us. Brian, you've talked to me about, you know, one of the hardest things for you at home is when your dad's on the scene, and that's a time when there seems like there's a lot of tension, and you've used the terms like people are kind of, you know, on edge.
Bugs me when we fight. I don't like it. It's worse when he's around.
And that's when the fighting is bigger between you and your mom at that time, right? And Janet, you kind of noted to me, you agreed with that things seem to be a lot more stressful when Alfred's home, but also you also have some concerns that this is sort of an ongoing thing between the two of you as well. Did you relate to anything that Brian was saying about kind of sometimes the fear that he feels around Alfred's anger and the worry that and concern that he has for your safety? Was there any part of that that you kind of went, yeah, you know, I kind of understand that?
Of course. And you have to understand that I've been with Al for many years. And I know better than anybody how much he cares about his family and how much he wants to do what's right. Al's always had a hard time controlling his temper. He was brought up at a time when people didn't think about those things. We didn't have anything to help us with things, and you know, he was beaten with a belt, for God's sake. At least he just uses his hand with you. I mean, it's just not the same as it was for us. You don't understand.
I'm hearing that, you know, that you're saying in many ways that you know, you're handling this situation in the best way that you know how. Today we're not looking at one option. It may be that, you know, where Brian is 16, it may be that you two end up in a relationship with each other that's better if he doesn't live at home. It may be that we end up that it's okay that he go back home, but if it can't become safe, and really it's not your responsibility to make it safe, it's Al's responsibility, and if that can't happen, then, you know, maybe another solution, we look at some other solution of what would the new relationship between the two of you where he's not living at home look like. And
I've lived by myself the last 2 months, and I've had a lot more time to myself, and I'm not living around you, I'm not living around Dad. I'm not living around the whole environment at home. I've got just myself, and I'm telling myself what to do, and it's worked out for me for the most part so far. I don't have anyone calling me stupid, being put down.
Not stupid. And I've never called you stupid. Your father does not have the vocabulary to be able to say what he really needs. You don't apply yourself. You don't try. You never have tried.
Janet, can I just, is it okay if I just interrupt just for a second? I just want to just take a minute, if you don't mind, Janet, to, I just want to go back to something that Brian said that really sort of stood out for me as important, and it was that when he said that how, you know, there's way less arguing when his dad is not there, and that he also mentioned too, and it really stood out for me, that no one's calling him stupid. I'd really like to know a little bit more about what you think that would feel like to him, to have his dad call him stupid.
Al needs to change. I probably even need to change. But it's not just us. He needs to try.
Right.
He needs to be a part of the world and our family.
Okay. Is that the first time you heard your mom say that your dad needs to change?
Yeah.
So are you able to, can you tell your mom right now kind of what are the things that you also would like to see different if it were to ever work for you at home again?
I mean, the only thing I see that we need to change would be arguing a lot. I mean, that's something that we just both have to agree on. I mean, I don't think that'll be a problem.
Can you say that directly to your mom? Are you okay with that?
I find that we argue a lot, and it's not over anything. It's stupid little things like just us picking at each other, and
Well, it seems like he's made some progress here. It seems like this is something different from what I expected, really. It's easy to be different when you don't have to deal with the things that you would normally deal with at home.
Can you tell me a little more about that?
He's not the same kid as he was a couple months ago when he left the house, or at least he doesn't seem to be. But he's been, he's been meeting with you, and he's had the benefit of talking about things, and, that's not something that Al and I have had, and it would be nice to be able to do that. Al won't come, but it would be maybe helpful to us if we could keep some involvement with you.
Brian and I, from that meeting, kind of decided some important things that we thought would be really good to kind of bring you in on as the key worker. And also just having you in the room is just a really good opportunity, too, to kind of, for me to get a sense of, from your point of view, Ben, and from the house's point of view, how are things going now with Brian? Where should we start in terms of letting Ben in on some stuff that is probably important for him to know as your key worker?
I'd really like to start trying more, like keep trying, but try a lot harder.
You and I talked a lot about kind of, around feeling really overwhelmed by what's being expected of you these days in your English course, because it's going to involve a lot of writing, and you're kind of checking out. And the other thing that's happening at the same time is you've got a lot of friends that are having spare periods, and they're kind of enticing you to hang with them. Because, like you said, it's kind of, right now, it's more fun to be with them than feeling like you're overwhelmed in your English class.
Yeah.
Do I have that right?
High school is a challenging environment, and I know that the teachers aren't always the most understanding or flexible. So If there are
Yeah.
more details, I'd really be interested to hear them.
One of the things that Brian has told me is, and it's backed up kind of by the educational testing that he's had over the years, is that he really has trouble. He has all these great thoughts, and he's really verbally, like, great with words and.
We had some great conversations. at the
Yeah,
house.
you've noticed that too, eh?
no, it was a
Yeah,
lot of fun.
yeah. So he's got all that going on, but then when it comes to translating what's in his head and putting on paper, there's some stuff happening there in the processing of that, and it's really hard for you, eh, Brian? Yeah. So we really want to start getting people who are supporting Brian to really get a sense of what kinds of supports he specifically needs around translating what's in his head to what's on paper. If we were able to have and organize a school meeting,
The teachers and guidance counselor. And,
exactly, yeah, and getting everybody on the same page. It's such a different take on what's really happening with him than probably what's the school's take on it is. So your voice at that table would be really helpful, Ben, to have you as somebody who say, I see him working really hard. Who else do you think, if we had Ben there, and you and I be there, is there someone else that comes to mind, or other people that come to mind that you think would be kind of on your team at that meeting?
Probably just my teachers.
Yeah. Is there a certain teacher that you have at the school that you think would be really helpful for you at the table, that's noticing that you are working hard? And
I would say English maybe, but I don't know, maybe my mother to be there.
And your mom too?
Maybe.
Okay. What if you called her and just invited her and let her know that there was going to be a meeting happening, and then also let her know that I'll call her sort of with the official time? Would that be all right?
Well, yeah.
If we can put our heads together maybe and think about what are the possibilities. I mean, I get the whole that there's not a lot of money for tutoring and stuff, but do I understand that there is a volunteer program?
We might be able to match you up with a volunteer, and we could certainly, give that a try.
Yeah, so Brian, I'm wondering if kind of what the role that you can take on in this too. Would you be comfortable going to your teachers, the art and English teacher too, and kind of saying similar things like that, you've been struggling, but you don't want them to think that you're not trying and that there is going to be a meeting coming up? How do you feel about that?
I guess I could, yeah.
Okay. You'd be comfortable doing that?
Yeah.
Okay. Probably really important too
Yeah.
that the school starts to hear your voice in this. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
How are you going to do with that many people in a room? Is that going to be a little bit intimidating, or?
No, I think it's okay.
Okay. I mean, it'd be like a great time for you to just sit and speak for yourself, right? Like,
Yeah.
You're a smart, articulate guy. Like, you've got a lot to say. So I think it's a good opportunity for you to put that stuff forward and have people hear you.